Good evening. Good evening, everybody, to whoever is joining from LinkedIn and whoever is joining from Facebook, as well as on YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining. Today is a special day for everybody. I'm sure tomorrow is the Christmas, and maybe you have been on your shopping or maybe getting ready for the holiday season, even though we can't be going anywhere much. So, with all this work going on in your life, thank you very much for joining for another episode of Cinnamon Chat with Amita, Sri Lanka's first LinkedIn live talk show. Happy to announce that today is the 10th episode. I just can't believe that I've been doing on consistent basis for last 2.5 months. Pandemic or not, rain or not, I have been coming here on every Thursday night at 8:30. And why Thursday? Why not Friday? Friday people are busy, they have other plans. So I have left Friday for them to have for their plans. Come to my LinkedIn live talk show on Thursday night. So we have been talking about many things. And why this show? This show is to add value to my network on LinkedIn, especially. Of course, then to add value to all my Facebook friends and then whoever is joining through YouTube channel. And later on, if you want to access any of the episodes, I would say the best place is just go to Amita Gamage YouTube channel. Without much of other content, you can straight away access them. And then we have been talking about many topics. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic. It's about e-learning. Is it effective? Is it for everyone? That's the topic. And why that topic? I mean, if you ask, probably the most spoken word could be "you are muted." The second most spoken word would have been "work from home." And the third one is e-learning, digital learning, remote learning. So there's a lot of words. And then there's a lot of controversy around it. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of questions. So I thought of bringing an expert to talk about it. And all what I want is you are going to ask questions from him and clear your doubts. I mean, I'm not an expert on the subject. I, of course, my two kids are learning remotely. Let's see how best this gentleman, who is an expert on the subject, could help us. So I'm going to bring him on stage. His name is Sanjay Elvitigala.
Hi,
Good
Amita.
evening, Sanjay.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the show. You want to say
Pretty
hi
excited.
to the audience also?
Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Hope all is well with you guys.
Yes. So Sanjay is apparently the CEO of eLearning.lk. The company name itself is an evidence of what he knows, what he does, and he's also the co-founder of Maya.lk. I mean, maybe later on you can start browsing and check his work. So, Sanjay, my first question is to introduce you to the audience. I mean, I also don't know everything about you. So, you want to talk about a little bit about your background. I really don't know whether you are a software developer or whether you are a marketer because you seems to be doing both fantastically well. Your school time, a little bit of family background, and your what have you majored up
All right.
to up to that point, and then we'll get into the education part.
Sure, sure. So, I was born to a family where my father and mother, and I have two brothers. And then they are both of them are quite older to me. And then I now have a family. I got married and have two kids. So I became an entrepreneur. You asked whether I'm a marketer or software developer. Actually, I do a bit of everything, right? I even go to the bank and maybe even sweep the floor of the companies. So basically, I do everything. But generally, I'm an entrepreneur. So I wanted to do my own thing at the time when I was schooling as well, because in the school days also, I didn't want to accept anyone telling me what to do or why you should do it. I want to do it. I wanted to do it myself and get a feel for myself. Then only I will start actually believing in what should be done. So that trait of me actually led me to do my own thing. I didn't want to take any commands or work under anyone. So right after schooling, without any corporate experience, I decided to start a company. So right after my A levels, I started with one of my friends, two of my friends, and then we actually gathered a few of other friends, and so it was a software development, mobile app, digital marketing firm at that time. So that was gradually coming up. The Now I feel after 14 years that if I had some corporate exposure at that point, I might have done a lot of things differently, right? It was just my gut feeling that I was being driven upon. So if I had that exposure, maybe I could have done some things differently. I may have been successful much earlier. I don't know. But then what happened was, then I was I got into I was able to get into a state university. I got the letter, and I thought, is this something I really want to do? Like I was selected for physical science, right? Which was a passion of mine when I was like grade 4, 5, 6. I wanted to become an astronomer, but then again, as the time passes on, I wanted to become an entrepreneur more. So at that time, with the letter in my hand, I thought, is this something I want to pursue? So I took away, throw away the letter, and then enrolled in an external degree called BIT in Colombo University, which I did very late. I mean, very late in the sense, very late in life. Like I managed to do the degree within the 3 years that it was supposed to be done. That's fine, but I didn't want to get prioritize the degree as opposed to building my company. So my focus was building my company, and then later on I got the degree. But even when I'm getting the degree, most of the things that taught there I already knew. Only thing that I was able to fill the gaps and know that most of the things I had done have actual formal names to it. So that was the beginning.
So amazing. So, I mean, that itself is a great example of your, I mean, we talk about authority on the subject. That itself gives you authority on the subject. Someone who got the letter to go to the university, you throw the letter and decided to do an external degree. And
Yeah.
then you do the external degree, and then you find, okay, I know things.
Yes.
But then you know the formalities and the structures in a very formal way. And then,
Actually, I didn't do any studies
so
for the, I mean, not bragging, but I didn't want to do any studies for the, I mean, I did some study, but generally I didn't want to do anything because, yeah, it was in me anyways.
yeah, so it's amazing. So I think you have the authority to talk about the subject of education in this manner, rather than someone who has completely gone through the educational part and talking about it.
Yeah, I defined the system
Amazing.
whenever I could.
Okay, let's say hi to few of our fans. Kaushalya, hi, how are you? Tamit, good evening. Thank you very much for joining. We have Mangala joining on LinkedIn, and Srikant coming from LinkedIn. Okay, Tamit has come through LinkedIn as well. Okay, Tamit, you use both platforms, yeah. And we have Ravindran. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for the support. So I also want to announce this. We have a partner who is actually helping the show on a daily basis. It is Pick a Book. So Pick a Book is giving away one book every week to someone who asks a good question or making a good comment. So last maybe 5 weeks, I don't want to call them winners because there's no competition. I randomly choose someone, and there were five who got self-help books, to personal development. So thank you very much. Pick a book. If you please note the web address www.pickabook.club. uh, they work with corporates, they work with individuals. You read books and you present the book. Amazing experience. If you know about my son who is 11 years old, he started his journey with Pick a Book, and then today he's conquering the world with what he does. So thank you very much, Pick a Book, for joining us. And everybody who is here, you can ask questions. If you are not going to ask questions, I have a whole heap of questions. So Sanjay, you said you became an entrepreneur, but then I want to know how come that you got into this education thing, eLearning.lk? Was it the first, or is it the Maya.lk first? What was the
Maya was the
transition?
first. Definitely the first. Then when we were at Maya, we started a project. This is in 2011. We want to try out something new, where we had the knowledge and we wanted to share with the world. And as a business model, also there was a financial model where we could charge users for some of the content that we were delivering. So at the time, webinars was unheard of basically in Sri Lanka. Few corporates used webinars, but general public was not aware of that. So in 2011, we started a webinar series. One was for web design, and the other one was for Linux administration. And what happened was, as long as we gave it free, people were interested and came in. And since we put a paid paid curtain in front of it, what happened was like we had 100 odd followers for the free sessions, and it got down to like 10 people, right? So it was expected that it was a new thing and people didn't have many ways to pay online. It was a hassle, but few of them actually remained. So that was the start of that. We called it at the time educationsrilanka.com. So that was a side project that we wanted to do, and later on with other work it went down. But then again we saw, then these are very early years of social media in Sri Lanka. After 2012 there was a boom, like a lot of people came into Facebook, YouTube, and we saw that a lot of content is being created, and 99% of this content is actually gossip, and a lot of unfair. I mean, if you're considering an intellectual discussion, or if you're looking for something intellectual on the Sri Lankan context, you couldn't find anything like that on the social media. It was all just fun and all that. Fun is fine, but gossiping and all the
Yeah,
other, there's a word I can't use. I mean, I don't know whether you are so allows that, but so it was like that. So the content was not good, right? So and also when we wanted to get additional knowledge on a certain subject that we don't know, especially in terms of IT where we work in, knowledge gets updated almost every day, right? So we need to
yeah,
get up to speed quickly, and it was a
yeah,
very difficult task to do unless you get the help of the internet. There were websites like Khan Academy, like that, Udemy, Coursera. I mean, they were also starting around that time. So
yeah.
we use those platforms, and the more we use those platforms for learning, we thought of why can't we have it here in Sri Lanka. So the major barrier was the language, that it was in English, as well as there was online payment barrier. So, and also the existing companies who did little bit of e-learning and all that, they didn't do actual e-learning. What they did was they recorded their lessons and put out CDs. So that's not essentially e-learning, but it's distant learning. You can call that distant learning, but it's not
Distance
e-learning.
learning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was the gap, and most of the people, I mean, there's a way to teach online, and we didn't see that happening. So we wanted to challenge the system and see whether people would give a chance to migrate from their traditional learning methods to online learning, because it has obviously a lot of benefits. If you are a working parent or a professional or someone who's in a field that is getting really far, I mean, very frequently updated. So we wanted to test that market, and we went into it. And in 2017, this happened. We at the end of 2017, we started to form a company formally, and I was featured in this Kotiak Korina Dasak, there's a tech reality show,
yeah,
and got the initial push for the company, as well as gained an initial audience to follow. And that was the start.
okay, yeah. So then, my next question is, 2017, we didn't have a pandemic. Okay.
Yes.
So, and then I don't think 2017 was so much different than 2016. Yeah. So, didn't you think at that time trying to do this is useless, or the market was not ready, or the customers are not ready to adapt to e-learning, or I don't know what they called it that time? You didn't think like that?
Well, you have to start somewhere, right? You can't
Yeah,
actually rely on the statistics alone. I mean, maybe there's a hidden need we don't know that has not been recorded anywhere. right? We start this, and maybe that's why we started small, right? we
Okay.
didn't we didn't put all our budget into it, all our interest into it. We started it small and see whether how the market reacts to it, and based on that we started developing. So initially people as a whole already were into free sessions, right? Free knowledge sharing sessions. Anyone would have been interested. Even now they are interested for that. And if we can deliver a good enough valuable content, definitely they will stick with us for the paid courses as well. But knowing that in Sri Lanka we have a huge problem in online payments, where people are reluctant to pay online. I mean, there is an audience, there is a separate market segment doing that without any hesitation, but the majority of the population doesn't do that. So for knowing that, we knew that.
Especially at that time. Especially
Oh
at
yeah,
that time.
it was worse at that time. Yeah, after the pandemic, most people actually came into. Yeah, that's right. So we knew that if we are going to create courses for the public and sell to the public alone, would not be. I mean, that wouldn't help us to survive as a company. So that's where we went into corporate knowledge management, where we did software for companies who are looking to upskill their employees, staff, right? And we supported through our own local built LMS system to achieve that goal. And we found a major corporate in the country with major conglomerate, and almost 90% of their subsidiaries are using our system now. So that helped us to as a stage to grow from there. So it was an experimenting game since then.
Yeah, so Sanjay, could you explain a little bit more about LMS, Learning Management System, or a solution for the benefit? I mean, you and I are in the game, so we may know it, but for the majority of audience, even whoever would be watching this later, what is a LMS? And you said a large organization, a company, used it. And in the meantime, I'll be having my Ceylon tea. Okay, go ahead, please.
That's good. So LMS is, if you take the abbreviation, it's learning management system. It's a software program, maybe web-based or desktop-based, where you get to consume certain material about a certain subject area, and you can be tracked, evaluated, and suggest. I mean, then getting recommendations for to study another course. So it's kind of like gathering knowledge in a centralized space where you are monitored, and the content is mostly curated. So it's not like YouTube. When you take YouTube, yeah, you can learn something from YouTube, but the thing is, it's not curated. It's not organized in a way that is consistent, and you have a lot of distractions. Like if you're learning something on YouTube and you see another video on the side, right? You go to sing a song, whatever, and that's that. So here it's more official, more formal, as long as you do it right.
Yeah. All right. So, for an example, if you take an example of, let's say, you are teaching English or communication skills, and maybe there are different modules based on the skill levels of the individuals, and then maybe whoever is controlling it can assign and monitor whether the individual employee is going through all the modules and answer the questions to see whether they
we
have
can we
understood.
can we can manage his skill level in a way that the company wants him to go to into a certain direction. We can monitor what his skills are and what he needs, and then assign him those. Then we can monitor the progress and where he lacks the knowledge, and we can assign another course to cover that. So there are a lot of things you can do to actually boost the productivity up.
Right. So, Sanjay, next question is now, based on today's context, people think learning digitally is now what you and I are doing. Okay, someone is watching and someone is explaining. Now, basically, a Zoom call, or at
Yeah.
the very basic level, maybe WhatsApp call or a WhatsApp message. Now,
Yes.
that is learning digitally. Can you explain, or can I would
Yeah.
actually like you to explain a little bit of this evolution of this, then coming
Yeah.
to the topic at once. How did
Yeah.
we start?
Okay, from the start of the pandemic, people were searching. Okay, schools were stopped and classes were stopped suddenly, and you didn't have, I mean, didn't have a way to reach the students. So
Yeah,
the communication, there must be a way to communicate. That's the start, right? So they started communicating.
yeah,
So the easiest way to communicate is through WhatsApp. So people
Yeah.
start using WhatsApp, sent printed or PDFs first as links to download and do and re-upload maybe to the same WhatsApp channel. They have created a group and do that.
Yeah.
Then they start sharing videos to the WhatsApp group, maybe a video call or two here and there.
Yeah.
Then people look for something a bit more engaging, where Zoom came in, Google Classroom came in, and a lot of other free tools that were available came in. So instead of Zoom, there were other alternatives like Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, and all that was there. So that was the initial thing, and then it should have been become more sophisticated by now, but it didn't, right? Because in my company, what I'm striving to do all the time is to improve what's already done, what's already there. But as a whole on the market, I have not seen people are trying to do that. They are just contented with WhatsApp, sending the video and maybe a Zoom call here and there. And even on the Zoom call, I was in one of my son's classes, monitoring what's going on, and I was bored. I was like, I mean, I just fell asleep. I didn't know how he could have actually focused in on that, because the teaching methods and the way the video looks is totally horrendous. so so that's not the way to do it. There are a lot of ways we can improve on e-learning, and what's happening now in Sri Lanka using WhatsApp and even in Zoom, in terms of education, it's not e-learning, it's just communication.
Exactly. This is what exactly. This is the point, Sanjay. So anyone would naturally think a teacher. I mean, I myself is a lecturer and a trainer. So I go in front of a camera and I talk, and the other person, probably we also share material. Let's say, you have a book or something. So we have the same book, and you tell, okay, now look at question number 7. And then if you ask me, my son is sitting for his O level. At this moment, he is in a classroom, and teacher is actually writing on the whiteboard where he has set up a camera to see. Is that e-learning? So you said now it is coming up to this level. Now what is available?
Okay, so having your own camera and a whiteboard is something. It's okay to a certain level. It's something, right? Something is there. But when you actually look at it, considering the internet speeds, upload speeds, if you don't have fiber connection, even in 4G, it breaks down, right? So if you take that kind of a view on a live classroom, you are probably doing it from your phone, and not everyone have iPhones, the quality of the camera of that level. So most people are having phones that are 24, 30, 40,000 phones, and only some of them have really good cameras. Otherwise, they cannot detect. I mean, okay, the phone is like 2 meters away from the whiteboard, and you are also there, and the viewport is quite small. And when you write on the whiteboard, the letters are quite small, so it's hurt. I mean, you have to process your brain to process extra to understand it, right?
Yeah.
Your brain has
Yeah.
to process more things rather than listening and understanding what he or she is saying. We have to process the actual image also in our heads. So that's a headache that will not work. And the lighting condition is pretty poor in almost all the classrooms I have seen.
Yeah.
Right? Either you do it with natural lighting, and the sun comes out on the side, or you do it with an artificial lighting, and that light is reflected from the on the whiteboard, right? So a lot of issues like that I have seen. And the people don't know, even in Zoom or any other software, people don't know how to use the software, right? So recently I have actually completed how to do online teaching in Zoom as a course in our platform.
Okay.
Because you need to know the controls, right? I have been part of I have seen a classroom where grade 5 students, that was a classroom for grade 5 student, about 20-30 students joined in, and the moment they got in, they were complaining, sir, I can't hear, mata හෙන්නේ sir, මේක අහන්න ඉන්න බෑ, අපිට හෙන්නේ sir, පේන්නේ. So it was like one war zone. So the teacher has to spend at least the first half an hour trying to control the crowd and sort out their connection issues and sort out the screen sharing, So those are the things. If you have the knowledge prior to that and experience prior to that, you might get that, at least save that half an hour and give a good understanding to the students of what you're teaching.
Exactly.
Then then we can go to the little bit, we can step it up. I don't think you actually need to see the teacher, right? In rare cases, you might be able, or live classrooms, I mean, On live classrooms, you don't actually need to see the teacher, because we have seen the teacher in real life, right? It's not the pandemic started only this year. Last year we have seen the teacher. So so I mean, if you are coming in front of a camera, I mean, you need to dress nicely, otherwise you can't come in your night gown or something, no. So
Yeah.
that has also happened in most of the
Yeah, you
cases.
have to be ready.
So you have to be ready. So forget all that, you don't need that. You share the screen. You can share the screen and use if you I mean, if you can buy a phone, obviously you could find some 8,000 or 10,000 rupees to buy a drawing pad. And you can, if you are not into PowerPoint presentations, you can do a presentation, that's even better. Or if you're not into PowerPoint presentation, you just take the writing pad and just write it, so it looks natural on the screen instead of a whiteboard. Really good natural flow that comes with it, if you know how to use it. Then it comes smart boards. It's also fine, which has a touch screen on the smart board. There are two types of smart boards. We also have it here in our studio. So where you touch the stuff and it actually works like a computer. So that screen, we can project it separately to the classroom, which is a good thing, which is more clear view to the user, which gives more clear view. And you can do PowerPoint presentation, not the boring PowerPoint presentation. There is an art to the PowerPoint presentation. You know this, I know, but most of the teachers, they don't know that. They put all the content in one slide and try to explain that, and we don't know where she's explaining, what she's explaining, and even why she's doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So the sync is not there.
Sync is not there. And even the content, when you are having a presentation, on the slide itself, you don't need a book, like a newspaper, like a text. That amount of text you don't need, right? You
Yeah.
only need a couple of images, and then you explain it. The way you explain it with your energetic voice, I mean, you have to be energetic in your voice, you have to be energetic, you have to be strong, and you have to know the subject. If a person doesn't know the subject, e-learning is a total failure, 100% failure, because a lot of oohs, ahs, those things will become really bad for e-learning. So you need to know your subject very well, and then deliver on the presentation which is aesthetically pleasing, not the writing on the board. You don't need to write anything, actually, just the topic is enough. I mean, I do that for a lot of universities, just the topic. And I tell stuff. When I tell stuff, I ask the students, if you don't know a certain keyword that I'm using, don't ask me, go and do a Google search. That's your input to this webinar, right? That's your interactivity. When I
Yeah.
talk something that you don't know, you have to write it down and then Google search it, and then come to me the question after searching that. Don't just ask what is that. That you are better than that, right? We have the access to a wealth of information through the internet. It's quite simple.
I know. So,
And then
yeah,
there are a lot of
yeah,
things. So
yeah, I
in
know.
Zoom,
So let me add this here.
okay,
So, uh, with your inputs here, and also what I have seen as an educator all around, my environment, I feel that there's a huge gap when it comes to teachers of how to use technology and how to do even Zoom. So, who is doing anything about it? Have you seen anyone doing anything about it?
yeah, we are doing something about it, but not in a massive scale, because as you know, we were a company that started before the pandemic, not during the pandemic. So we have
Yeah.
our different set of targets. So as part of it, as part of the response to the pandemic, we have few tuition teachers coming into our platform and teaching, and we are giving them a training session on how to deliver this correctly, as well as we are doing free courses on our e-learning platform, where one is coming up most probably next week, where how do you exactly do e-learning, right? It's a free course for everyone to join in and see what are the methods that I'm talking about here. Like, you can give group works, reenactments,
So,
infotainment,
so
gamification.
Sanjay, I mean, let me interrupt you here. If Ministry of Education or a
Yeah,
school approaches you
yeah.
and say, could you give us a half an hour, 45 minutes, or 1 hour free session on how to do this? You think you would do that, or
I would do that, not live. I mean, I would have a course which is pre-recorded on my site, where they could consume the content at any time they want.
brilliant? I mean, if you are so generous, I am sure I would I would like to invite, principals and teachers or whoever talk to
Intellectual
Sanjay.
generosity is not rewarded in this country.
I know, but then that kind of a thing. If you have one particular content where it is accessible to many, to learn how to do this, I'm sure you are also going to help
Of course.
thousands of kids out there. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
It's a
that course
live
is coming
program.
up. As I told you, most probably next week I will release that. That will actually teach the things I am talking about, how to do it in real life.
Brilliant. So maybe I'm actually cornering you to a wall on a live session, like asking, would you allow it? But then thank you so very much. I mean, imagine if my kid's teacher goes through that, next day my kid is going to learn better
Yeah.
thanks to your session. I mean, it goes like
Thank you.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Uh,
in terms of this technological breakthroughs, there are a few things that we cannot expect from the general public in terms of e-learning. Even we train them. Like for example, gamification, we can't expect them to use. Virtual reality, augmented reality, we can't expect them to use. That's where our technology comes in. As a company, that's what we want to achieve in terms of e-learning. We need to introduce those technologies to our content. But that's not going to happen live over these tuition classes or school sessions. That's going to be separate specific productions for specific subject areas.
okay. So we have a question from Dr. Lasit. Sanjay, how do you differentiate your platform against, for example, Udemy, where you can also create your content and sell? Uh, I mean, I know maybe we would have spoken about this little later, but then I thought with the things that you have said, since you also spoke about your own platform and you are an expert, I think we need an answer here.
Yeah, great. So the main the business model is the same, right? I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I copied the business model from them. That's pretty obvious. But the differentiation is that I know the barrier in Sri Lanka for learning is the language. So my platform is focusing on local languages, Sinhala and Tamil. That's the main differentiator.
Oh, okay. Brilliant. Brilliant. And then I would also like to ask you the same question. I mean, very similar question. I can see that you're already in a mini studio. I can see green
Yeah,
screens around
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah,
So just want to ask you, in terms of producing content, so are you just giving your platform or you are also helping? Let's say that I want to come and say, hey Sanjay, I have this particular course and I'm going to charge from people, but creating content is my biggest problem. It takes time and
yeah,
probably I might make a lot of mistakes.
yeah.
What's your solution there?
So if you are a person who can visit our studio, we provide free recording, free production, free editing, and everything is free if you're doing a paid course with us. So
Okay.
we will guide you. If you make a mistake, we can edit it out. And the content we can present in several different ways using a light board, smart board, green screen, whatever is available here. And there will be a revenue share for the sales.
Okay.
But
So,
if you're doing a course from your home, which most people actually do. Like yesterday, one of our viewers registered as a teacher and submitted as a course, which is a technology course for programmers. So he has done it through screen share, and we evaluate the technical quality, like the voice quality and the screen recording. If he's recording things from camera, the video quality, and his syllabus, we run through an expert and get an opinion on that whether they should change or not. And then we allow them to, once they have achieved the necessary technical level of production, we allow them to create the sessions at their homes. That's also there. And if they want any editing support, they can submit us the raw recordings and we'll do the editing, final editing.
okay. Great. So we have a comment. Akam very rightly said, Sanjay, about intellectual generosity. I mean, some some know the pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my next question. This is a challenging time, right? Now I have two kids at home, uh, and then one has a desktop, man. Other one has my laptop or my phone. I'll be very honest, right? Because we expected the pandemic to go soon. So
Yeah.
okay, I mean, at the beginning, and I thought, okay, why should I buy another computer? Because the kid will go back to school and that computer is just going to get outdated. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to buy another computer, two
Yeah.
computers and three people to manage it. And then, of course, I have a high-end phone.
Yeah.
So that's how we were managing. Now imagine when you have three kids, four kids, we are going through this. So people are also talking about, it's unfair and all that. You have anything to say? Oh, you see any solution that is coming technologically?
Okay, in terms of technological, it's not even a technological solution. This problem occurs when you have overlapping live classrooms. So don't do live classrooms. Do recorded ones. So you can consume it later on at any time.
Wow. Simple as that. Yeah, of
Simple as
course.
that.
Yeah. So if you have two kids, one
Yeah.
kid would learn in the morning and the other kid would learn in the afternoon.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, but then how do
You
we
only need
address?
one device.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So the device manufacturers will be very against with you. But then my question would be, sometimes, on live sessions, we have also questions, and then we solve those questions then and there. How can maybe
Yeah,
a system?
that's where the LMS comes in. So if you use an LMS software, you could. I mean, it's not a life-threatening situation, no. So you
Yeah.
can publish the question today. You can get the answer tomorrow.
Okay. Amazing. So I don't I think for your information, my elder son sometimes goes to classes at 2 o'clock in the night.
Wow,
Like,
what a pain! What a pain! These people are actually ruining e-learning for everyone.
yeah, he's sitting for his O levels, and he's going for classes at 2 o'clock in the night, and he can't miss the class because it's a live class. Yeah.
Mm.
All right. So
And if you have an LMS, a sophisticated LMS, you can have the recording. Or that's the thing. So in our LMS, we have designed in a way. If you do a Zoom classroom, the recording will automatically pulled from Zoom and pushed into that particular lesson. So the teacher doesn't have to worry about it, right? If you just do via Zoom, you have to do that all manually, and most people don't know even how to do it.
My goodness, now I'm looking at some softwares at this moment. I mean, just like you said, it was about learning. I learned about live streaming for more than 3 months. I consumed about, probably 400, 500 hours of videos to become a live streamer. It's a huge subject, right?
Mm.
Of course, I don't have to go through a structured program. I know how to learn
Mm.
because I myself is an educator, and I learned about it. But then now, when I want to repurpose my videos and all, it takes a lot of time. So now I'm looking at there are solutions where you don't have to do it anything. It pulls automatically and do all the repurposing and push it to
Yeah.
relevant platforms. So. But then at least I have done my research to find out that there are such systems available. Now, the importance of this session is, Sanjay, uh, sometimes it opens your eyes. Don't.
Yeah. There are simple
Just,
solutions to complex problems.
yeah, you simply say, record it and make it available. Let one kid watch it in the morning, the other kid watch it in the afternoon. No, what is happening is, I guess, we are going to just bring the normal classes,
Yeah.
what we used to do in the
We
schools.
try to replicate the physical world in the online world.
Exactly. It's not going to help.
Not gonna work.
So, yeah, you should be in more forums, Sanjay, addressing these
Nobody
seriously.
asked me. Only you asked me. And I'm not the type of person. Actually, it's in my. I don't want to actually go ahead and tell something that nobody's asking for. So I don't know whether, I mean, as a marketeer, that might be a negative point in yours, because marketers, I know, they experiment in the market and put stuff out. But I don't want. It's not in my nature. Somebody has to ask.
I know, I know. So I'm thinking maybe somewhere in February or whatever, let's do another session in a different way. Maybe we will bring some of the content that you have created. We'll bring some samples
Of course.
and run through this show. I personally feel we should be helping the society so that, giving them that understanding. Imagine, even for a teacher, I'm sure she must be doing the same subject
Yeah.
again and again and again.
You don't need to do that. You just do one good session and record it.
With right tools, colors,
Yeah.
interactions, and all that.
That
Yeah.
that has to be the production quality has to be superb. Like otherwise, you can't compete with YouTube.
Yeah,
So that's a
yeah,
separate story. I mean, we can talk about for hours and days on this.
yeah. No, otherwise people and whoever is watching this will also misunderstand. Wow, why don't I record it and then just put it? So recording means it's not Zoom recording. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
it's not. It's not. It's. I mean, for the for your problem, for your specific live classroom, two sons having different. I mean, Corel for a computer. That situation can be solved because they are anyway used to seeing the teacher teaching on Zoom, so
Yeah.
that would be fine for that situation. But if you are getting a new audience or if you are approaching a new student, then your production quality should be really high, and you have to have professional help.
Okay. Right. Okay. There are a few comments. So, like, uh, okay, Akam, I think you gave the answer. He's asking whether there's gamification option, or maybe will you have any plans to bring it in the future at least, Sanjay?
Gamification, we have a lot of platforms. We have implemented uh, uh, dozens of platforms for many institutes, and some of them actually have the gamification part. And our general public one, we use a technology called SCORM, SCORM, where you can have interactivity to your lessons. So developing Scrum content takes time, and it's not kind of like we need to get involved every time, like a programmer or software engineer, some guy like that has to get involved to get it done. But we are focusing on getting the content, the raw files from the instructors, and then gamify it where there is demand. Not every course has a gamification requirement. Where there is demand and requires gamification, we obviously support that. Our platform supports that. Currently, for public, we have it as home content, and there are specific requirements from certain institutes and companies that we work with. So they have a whole set of different concepts in terms of gamification. So that's
Okay.
another
So
subject that we could have a separate discussion on even.
yeah, yeah, I know. So can you also bring into the recorded versions, the gamifications?
Interactivity I can bring in, like giving questions, and if they fail the answer, they are jumping into another place of and learn that and come back and do the answer like that. And then we can calculate how much they have earned through the quizzes, as well as how much they have viewed the video. Based on that, we could rank them on a leaderboard and encourage people to, compete against each other like that. Those kind of stuff are there.
Okay. So, I mean, Akam is having a great conversation here. He says, but there are definite benefits of live learning sessions as well in it.
Yes, of course. I mean, I'm talking about the majority problem the society is having, because this school curriculum and the school teaching is way boring for the kids. But if you are a professional, like I have done a live session yesterday for data science, right? So in that particular context, when you are in the industry and you are looking for new knowledge, live session is always a 100% valid thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it goes with same thing here. Prashant is so you believe synchronous learning to be 100% substituted by synchronous learning,
No, I won't say 100% to anything. I mean,
100%. Yeah.
there will be a balance. There will be a balance. There should be a balance of
So,
that.
and also there could be a hybrid kind of a model, isn't it?
Yes, yes, that's what I said. We
Yeah.
can have a balance on that.
Yeah. So I believe that personally, I believe I don't want my
I'll tell
kid
you
to
an
go to
example. What
school
we
all
do in
five.
this case, when we have a recorded course, we have 10 recorded lessons. And for the people who are subscribed to the course, they will get one included live session per month, right? So they could lively interact with the tutor one-on-one and discuss all their problems related to those recorded lessons.
Okay.
You were saying something,
Understood.
sorry.
So, yeah, no, no. What I'm saying is, I personally believe now, once the pandemic is over, I don't want my kids to go to school 5 days a week. If you ask me personally, I want them to go to school three
Well,
days.
I have a thought. I mean, along the lines, I have a different theory on that as well. Maybe
Yeah,
I can share that
please.
with you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
This
once
is an
the
open discussion.
so the pandemic is over, I believe it's an 80-20 rule that we see everywhere in business. So when the pandemic is over, 80% of the population will go back to the traditional physical classroom setting, but 20% will be there for e-learning. That's my prediction, right? The market will still be there, not as big as right now, but it will go down, but 20% will be there, and I'm targeting that 20%. And when it
Okay.
comes to, yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, when it comes to the schooling, what I have is that our school and education system has failed to produce the knowledge citizen that the 21st century needs. Because if you take World Economic Forum recently released report where they talk about the 10 most demanded
Skills.
careers, skills in the next 10 to 20 years: data science, machine learning, AI, problem solving, critical thinking. Those are the things, robotics, right? Those are the things people talk about. The world is heading that way, tech, agro. But where are we, right? So if we take our education system, I think apart from the language skills and basic mathematics and science concepts, all the other years we have done all the things we have done in 8 years, probably out of those 13 years, 8 years, we are not using it in our lives right now. 99% of the people who are listening to this live session is not doing what they have learned in the school as their career. So that's a huge waste. That 8 years is a huge waste. That word I have to use, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
we, yeah. So why don't we think differently and make the curriculum a bit better? And not the curriculum, it's not the curriculum's problem, even the way of teachers thinking, the
I know.
thinking of the teacher has to change.
I have a teacher, who is my classmate. We were in the same class in 80s. So I asked him, "You are a teacher now. If you take the same syllabus what you and I learned in grade 7, 8, uh, how much of the content has changed?" He said, "Amita, 70% of the content is the same. I can use the same syllabus to teach today."
Yeah.
Think about it.
So
So,
it's been taken for granted. I mean, we have to reinvent and reimagine all these things. And
okay.
yeah,
I mean, I have so that's in terms of content, the relevancy
and
of
the
the
delivery, and the
content
delivery, and the delivery.
and the
Teachers have to do the delivery correctly.
yeah, I know. So this is where I mean I need to talk about this. My son is 11-year old, and he's starting a startup in January to teach entrepreneurship skills to kids
Perfect,
because
perfect.
we were never taught money management. We were never
Yes.
taught uh, time management.
Yeah.
I don't blame the teachers. They just deliver what is being
Yeah.
asked
Yeah. Yeah.
to deliver. But then I think the authorities
The
should.
teachers should practice the skills themselves first before teaching it to the student.
I know, I know.
So that's
So
where eLearning comes in, because we know that every person cannot have those traits, right? Different teacher,
yeah,
one teacher is different to another teacher. If I get two good teachers in my life, that would be my turning point. If you get two bad teachers, that would be your turning point in life. But in e-learning, you get one good teacher, you do a recorded session, and thousands of kids will be standardized on that particular level.
yeah. So we have few who says hi. We have Shohan, who came on the show
Hi,
last
John.
week.
Yeah,
Thank you, Shohan, for joining us. We also have Callum. Callum also is a frequent visitor on Thursdays. He just come and listen to us, whatever we talk. Thank you very much for the support. That's important because these discussions, I mean, I don't talk about myself. In these shows, I talk about what's important to the society. So my next question now, we had this uh, concept or predetermined understanding about online MBAs, online degrees. Okay, this is pre-pandemic era. So if you have an online MBA delivered online, everybody always had a, what can I say, uh, a lesser valued
that's a regard.
outcome.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, hey, you are doing an online MBA, and suddenly all the offline MBAs moved into online MBA because of pandemic. So now I was
yeah.
thinking, okay, now aren't we doing online MBAs? What's your perspective about it?
All right. So I am biased in this regard.
Never mind, you can have your opinion.
Okay. So I used to follow a few courses in Coursera where it allows you to study from the world's leading universities, their curriculum for free at sometimes, and then you have to, if you want the certificate, you can pay and get it. So whether the online MBA is online or not, it's the content and the delivery that matters, and what have you taken out from it, right? After you have done the MBA, can you go into a failing company and can you turn it around? That's the that's the aim. That's the goal of the MBA. That should be the goal, all right?
Yeah.
Not just a money grabbing scheme. So whether it is delivered online or offline, it doesn't matter as long as you produce that person.
Yeah. I know. So, I mean, now the only difference between online and offline is like, whether it is delivered on Zoom or some platform, they use various platforms. So, talking about those platforms, Sanjay, now a lot of these foreign universities have some great platforms, online learning management systems. Brilliant. I mean, I associate few of them because I also teach in few other universities.
Yes.
Uh, how can we compare your platform as a learning platform to some of those world class LMSs? What's the difference?
Okay. So currently, what we have done is I told you we have got the Udemy concept. So based on the Udemy platform, we have done our LMS. That's the basic start of that, and then we added features to cover the live classrooms, recordings, managing financials, teacher access, student grades, student exams, all those features. What's needed for e-learning in the Sri Lankan context, all the features are there. But my wife works for Australian university system where she gets to access their LMS, and I see the LMS and I see the features. And I don't think our market has a requirement for that right now, all the features that they have. But I see that I want to take my software development arm of the company to a global level. That's one of my goals for the next year. So at least set up two, three institutes or on other countries for as an LMS. So
Yeah.
for that, I am actually trying to incorporate the features that are not available now, but they should be available for those countries to conduct their trainings and courses online. So I
Okay.
would say,
Yeah.
since I have worked with around 20, 30 customers here, uh, I mean, different customers has different requirements and different implementations. If you take them all together, I think we are in a really good position to cover most 90% of the requirements. I mean, 90 to 99% of the requirements. But again, when we are going outside Sri Lanka, the culture is different. The way they teach and learn is different. So maybe we have to change it based on region wise. Maybe we don't know. We don't know that yet.
Okay. Yeah. So we have few comments. Veera Cohen says, I learned a lot from you, Sanjay, reversing the role of a
Hi, sir.
teacher
How are
and
you?
student.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he actually taught me in the university. One of the greatest teachers. One of the greatest teachers I have ever met.
So teachers are watching this. And then Sanju says, I agree with you, Sanjay, regarding online MBA. Yeah, as long as it can produce that person, what the market is requiring, what the company is requiring, doesn't matter. The
It doesn't
the
even require the person. I mean, if the MBA can produce a good entrepreneur, he can create his own market.
Yeah, yeah. So again, Sanjay, my next question is about skill-based programs. Okay, not management kind of courses. Let's say I'm learning mathematics, so it's about using the board. Think about maybe some kind of a craft, maybe a little bit of engineering, and those kind of things. Are online platforms successful in those?
Yes, definitely. Because in I have a great example for this. My platform, I have an engineering course for kids using Arduino, which I have done with the partnership of Igniter Space. And we did the recording, we did the planning of the course, we did the curriculum. There's a separate tool set and how you assemble the tool set, how you do the programming of it. Everything is covered in this course. So if you go to our eLearning.lk and search Arduino, so you can see that. And we record the screen on a separate side. We record the manual work that he's assembling the stuff, that's on a separate camera angle, like that. So we have experimented there and it was proven to be a real success.
Right. So what I learned from that is the production plays a major role.
Definitely, you have to plan it. That's where in e-learning we call it instructional design. So someone in the organization, I mean, I actually e-learned an instructional design course on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's the thing. So just because I'm good at teaching, I can't come out with a course using a platform. There's a lot that is
There's a
going
lot
in the
happening,
background.
lot has to go into it. I mean, you can't do it alone. If you're producing, as you said, if you're sharing the screen, fine. If you're sharing the whiteboard, fine. You can do it alone. But if you go into this level, you have to have a team, production team.
And then you can't just take a maybe video production team just because somebody is good at video production. It's
No,
not going to
you,
help.
you need to be an educator. You need to be an expert on the subject. You need to be an instructional designer. You need to be a marketeer first and foremost, because you need to know where there's demand for this particular course that you're doing. So we have done courses that have failed, right? Nobody's buying that. So you need to know what you're doing.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So we have, maybe 3, 4 minutes. We Sanjay, the discussion was so interesting.
I now see the time. Yeah, it's 57 minutes.
Yeah. So generally, what happens is we keep the core of it for 45 minutes, and then balance 15 minutes for questions and answers. Then and there were enough questions. There were enough comments. I don't think we have covered everything, but I need to ask you this before we maybe wind up. We have few more minutes. Uh, what do you think is where the world is heading in terms of this remote learning, e-learning, digital learning, or whatever? And where do you think is Sri Lanka heading? Because your customers are most of the time teachers, educators. You also meet them on a daily basis. What is your personal opinion by looking at what has been happening?
I think the world is heading in the direction of virtual reality and augmented reality teaching and learning. Gamification, not 3D based gaming, infotainment. Those are the things the world is moving. For example, I will give you a nice example for the infotainment purposes. There's a channel called Dr. Mike on YouTube. He's an actual physician. Instead of just
Okay.
coming in and teaching something, what he does is he reviews TV shows. So there are a lot of TV shows, nurses. One is called Nurses. One is called ER. Maybe you are familiar with that ER. And there was a House. House is another TV show
Yeah.
based on the medical profession.
Yes.
And there are a
Yeah.
lot of medical memes
Yes.
going around, right? Medical memes going around in Facebook. So what he does is he takes a part of that and he analyzes that from a scientific perspective. And through that analysis, I have learned a
Being a
lot from that.
doctor.
Yeah, he's a real doctor. So real doctor reviews the TV show, or the real doctor reviews the meme, right? So that was like
Okay.
the groundbreaking for me, because that's a model we can follow in e-learning. You take some teledrama that's happening on our TV, get that part, and you can explain the hell out of that, explaining how stupid these stuff are, and
Yeah,
while
I
you learn
know.
something.
Yeah.
So I'm actually looking
Interesting.
for content creators like that. Luckily, I found two of them, and if you are listening, you can also be a part of this. I mean, my goal is to create a society who like to, I mean, who does critical thinking, right? Critical thinking is what we lack in this country, what we need in this country. So we need people to critical think and probe and question. Velivity Sri Soratatero's words: probe, question, and critique. So those three things. So we need people. We need to inculcate a culture to do that. So I need content creators on YouTube. Even if you don't come and join with me, that's fine. Just do something on YouTube. Even. Let's get this back on track.
Yeah. So just
Get it?
to recall what you said, uh, whom are you looking for? You said.
I'm looking for content creators who can do stuff like that. I mean, like what the example I just told you, right? So he's a doctor. I mean, he's a really busy person, but he has the time. He has found the time to create his own channel, and he breaks down all the uh, wrong stuff that has been broadcasted on these channels in a hilarious way, and people would actually learn what's actually going on.
All right. Okay. Interesting.
So
Thank you
Dr.
very
Mike,
much.
search that. He's actually an award-winning YouTuber.
I'll check. I just wrote it down. I want to check.
Very
Uh,
handsome guy, you know.
my son watches some of those programs. Maybe I can ask him, "Hey,
Even
look,
what your son is doing is perfectly, I mean, it's really good. I mean, my son, for example, he's currently in second grade. Not to brag, but he can actually speak English really, really well with with an UK accent.
okay,
And he can read and write. I mean, he's at the level. He's currently in grade 2. I think he's competent up to grade 7 or grade 8, maybe. And when I was in my grade 8, I couldn't even thinking of speaking like that in English.
no way,
He learned all
no
that.
way.
Yeah, he learned all that from YouTube Kids. Right, there's a Kids YouTube which I have given him.
Yes, yes,
So he learned all that. I mean, no teacher was involved.
exactly.
That's
So,
the e-learning thing that I want to achieve.
exactly, Sanjay. I mean, if you ask me, my son also makes things stuff using an app. He makes things on Lego bricks.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Learned
Great.
on his own.
Yeah.
He makes stuff. I mean, recently he won 25,000 rupees for one of the small 20-second movie clip for the
Imagine
pandemic.
imagine he's doing that for 8 years of his life, where he grows into the next level and the next level and the next level. Where would he stop, right? So that's the competency we need in the society. Otherwise, we just produce
Yeah. So
some I don't know who we
yeah,
are
Sanjay.
producing.
So that's. I mean, I know we are almost at the end, but then this one also. So society is complaining about giving the phone to your kid, and then you and I have both done it in a very constructive manner. That's e-learning. Any last advice to parents and
Yeah.
teachers?
Okay.
I mean, not
So
on the phone alone, like, overall
yeah.
e-learning side.
Okay. So generally, you don't. I mean, e-learning in the way that is being currently practiced in Sri Lanka is not the way to go. That you have to understand. You can do it as a replacement or a supplement to because of this pandemic season. You can do it temporarily, but if you are serious about your kid learning something and be passionate about it, what we are currently doing is not giving that. So you need to uh, have an ecosystem and the openness to allow your kid to roam freely on technology which is available to you. I know not all the children are available, they don't have the accessibility to the technology. But having said that, if we have thought in that way, when the car first came out, only few people had cars. Most of the rest of the society didn't have cars. So if they say you guys are the only ones who can afford that, so no cars, stop cars, cars are banned. And we would, if that is the case, we would be in the Stone Age, right? You
Yeah,
found you invent the wheel, and if only few people has the wheel at the beginning. That's how it is. And as far as I remember, one of the governments, I think the last government, I mean, there are a lot of criticisms for them, but the one thing they tried to do was giving the tabs and the internet to the entire country. And if that project was successful, I think all those criticisms that you just mentioned would be gone away by now. 90%, 95% students will already having that tablet.
I know.
So it's not even
So
too late now. They can do it now even.
I know. So any, I'm sorry, any last words, last advice to teachers?
All right. So advice. So
Oh, an input.
okay. So I think I am qualified to say this as an educator as well. So when I will share my experience so they can take something out of that. So when I teach on the universities, I teach into private universities. So when I do that, what I do is I get the class in, I talk to them, and I ask the first thing. This is not for the small kids. Huh? These are actually people who are passed out from A levels. So I ask them, why are you doing this subject? And I need to get the deep hidden uh, sentiment of them of why they have chosen this subject. Is it because of the pressure of someone else? Is it because your parents told you? Is it because you like it? What's the purpose? Then if for the people who already have a purpose, I let it. I mean, I leave it at that. But the people who don't have a clear idea, that point I use that to give them a purpose. So they are in sync with me for the rest of the sessions, right? Because I have given them purpose. Why you should do this? Then what you have to do is you have to guide them. I mean, as a teacher, you even if I know my stuff, I am not going to tell them that. I tell them, learn to learn. So you need to learn to learn. And on that path I will be giving them, where all the knowledge points that I have, I will be laying as breadcrumbs on those paths. So they
Mm-hmm.
can follow those breadcrumbs and actually achieve a knowledge level which can be more than mine.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what you should do. Like it can be group work. I mean, I mostly give group work. So
Yeah.
I ask, when you are forming a group, if it's a technical subject, if it's web design, for example, you have to have a content writer, you have to have a project manager, you have to have a UX designer, you have to have a coder. All of you should not code, all of you should not design, right? You have your separate skills. So make it work as a team. So that's what matters in the industry later on. So those are the things I do. So teachers, you have to innovate and find new ways to learn and teach. Learn yourself. You have to unlearn some stuff from yourself, because you have learned through the system, and you do a lot of unlearning to break the shackles. And then you reinvent your learning, and the kids will love it. They will love you for the rest of your life, and they will love their education.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sanjay. So we need to give a book to somebody today. So that's courtesy of Pick a Book. So today's book will go to Arkham for all the comments he made. You know, at this moment, Arkham is not here. He's in Russia. So, but then he still has a login to our discussion from Russia. I think he also had some other additional questions which he could ask from Sanjay. Maybe this Sanjay's social profiles, uh, because he
Yeah.
himself is an educator, so he would want to work with you. So thank you very much, Sanjay. I think it was a uh, very constructive session. I would say I learned a few things from you,
Yeah, I
and
enjoyed that too.
yeah, so thank you very much, everybody. Even though it's holiday season, you have been coming, commenting, and working with us. And let's see. Obviously, we could work on the next episodes. The next one is, I think I have one more episode that will go before the end of this year. That will be my 11th one, and I'll bring someone else who would also an expert on a subject. You will find the details soon. So thank you very much for joining, and enjoy
Thank you
your
very much for
holiday
listening as
and
well.
stay safe.
Thank you, Amita.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Okay then.
Stay
Okay.
safe.
Thank you. Okay.